This is Jennifer Gonzalez welcoming you to episode 41 of the Cult of Pedagogy podcast. In this episode, I am going to teach you about student-created ebooks. So you have reached the end of a unit or the end of a year, and you want students to demonstrate their learning in a way that requires them to synthesize information, apply it in new ways, and reflect on how they've grown. To achieve any of these goals, an end-of-unit exam doesn't quite cut it. You could have students do presentations, that is always an option, but here is one more. Have students create their own PDF ebooks, packaging up some aspect of their learning into a finished digital product they can enjoy and share for years. In this episode, I'm going to explain to you exactly how to create an ebook with tools you already have, and then I'll share a bunch of really excellent ideas for the kinds of ebooks students can make. Before I get started, I want to thank everyone who has left a review for me on iTunes. Every single positive review that is left helps bring more listeners in. So thank you for doing that. And if you haven't left a review yet, I would love it if you would take a moment this week to go over to iTunes and leave a review. Thanks so much. Okay, let's talk about ebooks. First of all, what kind of ebook are we talking about? When you hear the term ebook, you might think about the kind of thing you read on a Kindle or a Nook. And yes, those are definitely ebooks. But a broader definition includes PDF files, which don't require any kind of special device to read. Anybody can open up a PDF file on their computer and read it. And those are becoming pretty common in terms of how people publish stuff. They don't require any high-tech software to create. And they're just really easy. You can basically create them in seconds. So having students make them is an excellent option for all kinds of final projects. And because a lot of businesses now use ebooks like these in their own work, I see them all the time. These are free downloads that come from companies. Assigning them to students, this just gives students an extra skill they can take into their adult lives. So not only are you creating a great project that they can do, but you're giving them a career skill for later. Another thing that's great about these is the power of visual packaging. For some students, and I would definitely have put myself in this category, having the opportunity to put your words together with images and arrange it all into one tidy package, it creates a different kind of work ethic than you would find if you just assigned a paper. I know that this is definitely why I love having a website, because I'm not just writing words down. I can put them together with images and I can kind of organize them in a way, and it raises the stakes for me personally. And I was like that as a kid. I used to love to make books. Really, I loved making books. And so this gives students an opportunity to do that in a way that's so easy, and there's so many wonderful images available to them online that they can pull in and use, and digital cameras and iPads and smartphones all make it so easy to take really good high quality pictures and use them in a personalized book. So the materials and the tools available to us very inexpensively. And I know a lot of devices are not inexpensive, but once you get them, you can use them over and over and over again. It's not like it used to be with film and developing and everything like that. It's really the paperless aspect makes working on projects like this so easy. So I just think that giving students the opportunity to use these tools to pull them together into a really nice final product that is visually appealing, I think you're likely to find that students are going to put more effort into that than they would into some other kinds of schoolwork. So, I'm going to skip over the ideas right now. I'm going to just quickly explain to you how you actually make these, just in case you were never aware of how people made these PDFs. You don't need really anything except for PowerPoint, or even if you don't have PowerPoint, If you have Google Drive and you've got access to the Google Slides program, which is free to anybody with a Google account. So even if you don't have PowerPoint, which is in most computers nowadays, but either one of those would work. Okay, so I'm going to talk about it from the perspective of PowerPoint because I think most people understand how to use those. So for a lot of people, PowerPoint is just slides that you would use for a presentation. And when you open up a new PowerPoint, it's a landscape orientation. It's horizontal slides. But very quickly and easily, you can go in and change that slide orientation so that it is portrait setting, so that it's vertical, so that it looks basically like you would look at a piece of paper or a booklet or, a handout. The way that you do that in PowerPoint is you go into the design menu. I'm going to actually open PowerPoint up so that I can be sure that I'm pointing to the exact right sections. Yeah, this is in newer versions of PowerPoint. You go to design and you choose slide size. You have an option between doing standard or widescreen, but under that you have the option to do custom slide size. And what you can do then is change it to letter paper, which in the US anyway, it's 8.5 by 11 inches. Choose that and change it to portrait setting. And then what you have on the screen is a slide that basically looks like a regular sheet of printer paper. From there, you can build an ebook that will look like a book. It'll be the orientation and the size of a regular book, and it can be printed on regular 8.5 by 11 paper. So that's how you actually set the slide up. And then what I would recommend you do is, instead of using one of the templates that PowerPoint offers you, I would recommend just starting with a blank slide. And from there, you can add text boxes and you can add shapes and you can add different elements to your blank slide that give it whatever look you want. Now, if you go to the blog post associated with this podcast, if you go to cultofpedagogy.com/podcast and click episode 41, that'll take you to a long blog post about this. And in it, I've got images that show you these different kinds of ebooks, but there's also a video embedded in there that actually takes you through the steps that I just talked about, and it shows you how to go from PowerPoint to ebook. So once you've got your slides set up and you add your text boxes and you've got all your different pages with text on it. Now, and since this is PowerPoint, we're all used to writing our text in like 42-point font. Well, if it's an ebook, you would make it in smaller font and you could do paragraphs instead of just a big bulleted list. You can reduce that font size way down. So once you've got all of your slides made, then you go to your File menu and you click Save As. And when you get your Save As menu, it will automatically say Save as a PowerPoint presentation. You should do that the first time around, but then you can change that to PDF. And once you do that, it's going to save a separate file and it'll be a PDF. And you'll open it up and it'll behave just like a PDF does. And that is the basic process of how you create a PDF from a PowerPoint. You can do the same process if you're working in Google Slides. If you're opening up Google Slides, you would set the document up. Again, it opens up looking like a regular presentation. But if you go to your File menu and go to Page Setup, again, you can choose Custom and you can set the size of the slide. And then when you're ready to save it as a PDF, in Google Slides, you go to File and then you choose Download as PDF document. Same exact thing happens. You will get a download of a PDF of whatever it was that you created. So that's the basic how-to in terms of how you actually make these. Once you and your students understand how to do this, then the possibilities for creating ebooks just opens up so many just amazing ideas, and that's what I'm going to share with you next. Before I do, I want to let you know that I have created 6 what I believe to be beautiful templates. They're PowerPoint files that they're already set up as ebooks. So the text boxes are there. They've got the small text. They've got places for students to place pictures. Each template is 20 different slides. and they can be rearranged, and they come with instructions. So if you get what I'm saying, but you don't necessarily trust that students are going to use their time well or design something, you may want to take a look at these. I have them for sale in my Teachers Pay Teacher shop, but if you go to episode 40 and take a look at these, there's a link to these templates. And I also have them set up for Mac, and I also have links in them to go to a Google Slides file that you can use if you're working in Google Classroom. So I'm going to mention those again later, but I just wanted to let you know. Let's talk about different ways that you can actually use ebooks with your students. There are so many possibilities. Ebooks could be assigned to a whole class as a way to do sort of a final project on something, or you can just assign them to individual students to offer additional challenge. So here are just some ideas. This is what I came up with in just a couple of days. One idea: mini textbooks that teach a single concept or a group of ideas from your course material. Now, students can make these after you've finished a unit. You may want to have them all create a little textbook on what you just studied. And they've got to teach things in their own words, and they've got to explain things and include images. And also, on that same idea of mini textbooks, you yourself as a teacher could create chunks of your content and break them down into mini textbooks that you store on some cloud-based system, or in Google Classroom if you're using that, or in Dropbox, or whatever you use to share content with students. That could be another way for you to flip your classroom, is to create little ebooks that contain lessons, really. Another idea is to use ebooks for book reports. Now, that's a broad term. That could include a lot of different things, but writing about books or writing about literature. Students could write sort of like an analysis that takes the reader through the most significant moments of a book, or compares several books to one another, or maybe introduces a selection of works from one author, or looks at a central theme and looks at how that theme is represented in several different books. So it's sort of the same idea as writing, an in-depth paper, except that it's beautiful. It's formatted really nicely, and there are some images included, and ultimately the final product may be more satisfying for you and for the student. Another idea for ebooks: portfolios. These could be art portfolios if you are an art teacher. This is the student's original art, the student's photography. It could also be used for writing portfolios. It could be used for poetry portfolios. There's just a great way to collect students' works on any particular topic. They could also be used for like personal yearbooks or year in review books. These would be sort of reflective things. This would be great for the end of the school year. Having students explore concepts from the year, like lessons I have learned, or the best moments, or special people, or turning points, or important challenges that I've had. Like there's a lot of different directions you could go with this, but I think it would be an excellent thing to do at the end of the school year, to have students reflect back and include images that represent some of these things that they're talking about. Another idea for ebooks: have students create children's books that explore a concept learned in class, or they could just write a good story. If you're working on narrative writing, writing a children's book is narrative writing. So that would be another idea. Ebooks could be used for students to create guidebooks offering advice and instructions for next year's students. I know that that's a really common assignment, write advice to next year's students. Why not make ebooks that they can explore? Because then you can include images from the classroom, or signs that are up in the room, or any other kind of artwork that you want. Another idea would be kind of along the same lines but broader: how-to books that teach the reader something about something that the student has some expertise on. So this would be like an informational writing task. Suppose the student is a really good cook. They could create their own cookbook. Or suppose the student is, they know how to do carpentry. They could do their own how-to book. It could be a mini guide where it's just how to build a coffee table, or it could be a more comprehensive collection of different projects. Having images included in it, and having the student get practice in understanding which images they need to actually include to make the material clear, is such a great, great lesson in thinking about your audience. Students could use ebooks to create collections where they curate a list of their favorite books, favorite movies, favorite quotes in video games, favorite apps, photos of meaningful places, all kinds of different collections. They could use these for reflective journals where they could either have them be an end of the year or end of a unit reflective journal, or it could be something they keep throughout the year and build so that throughout the year they're growing this collection. They could also be used for sort of a memoir style book, like if you're doing Genius Hour or 20% time with your students where they are teaching themselves something or working on some sort of a project over time, you may want to have them document that in a sort of a documentary style book where they show their process and talk about what they learned, and they can even add links to resources that they used. Another idea for ebooks is if a student is part of a club or an activity or a sports team, they could use the ebook style to create sort of a memory book that documents the accomplishments of the group from the year and the members, and almost like a little mini yearbook. And the final idea that I'm sharing in the post is professional portfolios. Now, this is something that teachers and students could use. You personally could create your own professional teaching portfolio with these ebooks, but you could also, especially if you're working with older students, have them start to sort of develop almost like a multi-page digital resume. This could be something that they could send to employers. A lot of younger people now are using digital tools really to create different forms of resumes. Instead of it just being a Microsoft Word document that they send to an employer, they are creating lots of things, video resumes, and a PDF resume could be another thing where it's, maybe 10 pages that sort of showcase the person's skills and interests and talents. So these are just a couple of ideas. The longer I think about it, the more ideas I can come up with. And I just think that this, if you're not already doing something like this, it's definitely something to consider for the future. I think once you see the video, and I would definitely recommend that you go over to this blog post, because seeing the examples and also watching the video that shows you how to do it, I personally think something will click and you'll say, oh, this is perfect. I can do this for this, and that. Go to cultofpedagogy.com/pod and click on episode 41. And that'll take you to this blog post where you can learn all about this. And if you are interested in getting these PowerPoint templates, 6 different designs that students can just open up and they can start putting their images in right away and changing the text to make it their own. And then you've kind of skipped over the step where the students are trying to figure out what exactly to do to lay the pages out. And I've tried to create them in lots of different styles. I originally had 5. My husband looked at them and said that there were not enough options for boys. So I added a 6th one that was a little bit more dude-like, and so they're in a lot of different styles. So anyway, go take a look at those. And as always, if you are a teacher and you want to become better and you want to find a place where somebody understands the way you think and the things that you struggle with, please stop by cultofpedagogy.com. There will be a ton of resources for you to explore. Thanks for listening, and have a great day. This podcast is a proud member of the Education Podcast Network. Podcasts for educators, podcasts by educators. To learn more, visit edupodcastnetwork.com.